Exile years after Biafra's surrender in January 1970, Chukwuemeka Ojukwu handed power to his deputy Philip Effiong and fled into exile. With the war lost, he faced possible execution if captured by the Nigerian government. President Felix Houphouët-Boigny of Ivory Coast welcomed him and granted him political asylum, shielding him from Nigeria's reach. Propaganda and accusations back in Nigeria, Ojukwu became the central figure in government propaganda. The federal side portrayed him as the chief villain of the civil war, a man who dragged the East into bloodshed, prolonged the fighting, and brought suffering upon his people. His image was used as a scapegoat to justify the devastation of the war. Many Nigerians believed he had abandoned his people by fleeing, while his supporters insisted that exile was a strategic move to keep Biafra's voice alive abroad. Life in Ivory Coast in Abidjan, Ojukwu lived in relative comfort, but far from the land he once led. He became close to President Houphouët-Boigny and maintained ties with African leaders and intellectuals. Though cut off from direct politics, he remained a symbol of resistance for the Igbo diaspora. His life in exile was marked by occasional interviews where he defended his actions during the war. Still, he lived under constant watch, unable to return home for fear of arrest. Business ventures in exile. Despite being in exile, Ojukwu was not a man to fade into obscurity. In Abidjan, he ventured into business, starting trading enterprises that dealt in commodities and small-scale importation. With his education, charisma, and connections to influential African leaders, he quickly built a reputation as a shrewd businessman. These ventures provided him with enough income to support his family comfortably during the long years of exile. Far from being reduced to dependency, Ojukwu transformed his circumstances into opportunity, proving that even outside the battlefield, he had the will and intellect to survive and succeed. Fall of Gowon. While Ojukwu lived in exile, Nigeria went through upheaval. In July 1975, General Yakubu Gowon, who had led Nigeria during the war, was overthrown in a coup while attending an OAU summit. His replacement, General Murtala Mohammed, promised a new direction for Nigeria, emphasizing reconciliation and nation building. For Ojukwu, this shift in power marked the beginning of a possible path back home, though not immediately. Return of Ojukwu. It wasn't until 1982, under the civilian government of President Shehu Shagari, that Ojukwu was officially granted a state pardon. After 12 long years in exile, he finally returned to Nigeria. His homecoming was dramatic, greeted by massive crowds in the East who still hailed him as their leader, Ikemba Nnewi. For many, his return symbolized the closing of the Civil War's wounds, even though political and ethnic divisions still lingered. Legacy of Exile Ojukwu's 12 years abroad revealed that he was never forgotten by the Nigerian people. He had been demonized by his enemies and abandoned by some allies. Yet exile did not erase him from Nigeria's history. To the Igbo, he remained a hero who sacrificed wealth and privilege for their survival. To others, he was a controversial figure who carried both the pride and pain of a failed revolution.